All right, welcome to another episode of Elite Financial Voices powered by Advisors Marketing Mastery. The esteemed guests that we have here today on this episode are Amir from Futurity and Tiger Shahid, who's working with Amir, and he also runs Tax Code Hackers. So I'd like to start this off with a bit of an introduction, Amir. I see at your profile that you've been in the industry for over 20 years. What in the first place got you in the industry, and how did you get started? Tell us something about it.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm one of those people where I was born and raised in Karachi. I grew up there, then decided to come to the US for education, did a bachelor's degree and an MBA, graduated in 1990. Then that was a time where jobs were very difficult to find in the US. I had to find a way. So I came across someone who was in the life insurance business. It was a very mature industry in the United States. So I decided to go that route. And it's 33 years now that I've been in the life insurance and investment business. I started as an agent, did a lot of work in that space, and then 2 years later, I became a manager. And ever since then, I've been running agencies for different companies throughout my 33-year career in the insurance and financial services.
That's awesome, Amir. Moving over to you, Tiger, a little bit. We've been in contact for about a couple of years now, and recently I've seen a lot of your videos coming up on Facebook, talking about the tax code hacking and whatnot. So would you please go ahead and educate our viewers a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you come from, and what got you in the industry?
Yeah. So I, without my parents' permission, they thought I was a business major, and I changed my major to acting and theater. So when I got out of college, unlike, it wasn't like a job market. There were no jobs for actors. So that's how I decided to get into any type of, opportunity. There was commission sales, and I started my own business right out of college, ran it for 2-3 years. But I realized that tangible products and keeping inventories and also this didn't suit me. So I took a lot of courses with Brian Tracy, Tony Robbins, like how to become an entrepreneur and what does it take. So my focus for the last 30 years, I got my first license in the financial services industry in 1993. So I have a lot of experience on that side. But my focus really is I'm passionate about small business. So my focus is how can I help a small business increase their profit, increase their revenue without actually having to invest new money. So what I do is my specialty is take the old money, only redirect it in a way that will just literally take your profits out, because that's the reason a small business owner goes to work every day. So we do that by reducing their expenses. We do that by reducing their taxes. We also do that by restructuring, if they are overfunding a 401k or IRA, which is basically a tax bomb that, most people in the United States are creating and don't even realize it, that we show them that there are other buckets where they can put that money, and when they take it in the future, they can take it out anytime they want to. They don't have to wait until they're 59 and a half. By placing that money strategically inside a whole life policy. Now they can use that for their kids' college. They don't have to wait. They don't have to report it to the IRS. They can use it that if they need to put up another kitchen or buy a cooler or something business related. So this is a secret that has been used for a century by the wealthiest families of the United States. Unfortunately, insurance industry, a lot of the new agents that only last maybe more than, less than 2 years in the business, and 92% of them quit. That's why the industry is known as 8%ers, right? So I'm trying to make sure that, these 8%ers, understand that selling life insurance has many different aspects, and it can be situated correctly for a small business owner.
A lot of ads these days coming out from insurance brokers and insurance agents around become your own bank, that sort of stuff. What is your take on that, guys? I mean, I'd like to hear from the experts here.
So I think when you talk about being your own bank, a lot of companies that sell whole life insurance, that's what they're talking about. There's a whole concept of infinite banking is what it's called. I'm very familiar with it. There are companies that have whole life products. At least I'm familiar with them in the United States. I don't know other parts of the world. Assume it's the same, where those are high cash value policies that earn a lot of interest first year onwards. So the idea is that you invest in those, pay the premiums, you've got the life insurance policy on the side, that's benefit on the side, but you've got a very high cash fund. Then down the road, as you need the money, you're basically borrowing the money from your own pool of money and paying interest to yourself or paying a very small interest to the insurance company. And this way you're your own bank. So it's basically a concept that was designed for people to buy life insurance, have that benefit, but then have cash value so that in future when they need money, instead of going to a bank and putting a collateral and paying high interest, they can borrow their own money from the life insurance cash value.
But I'd also like to understand it from a user of a whole life policy, from the perspective of a user, that is it really true? Like, can people actually become their own banks, or is it more of a marketing gimmick that's around in the industry these days?
So I think it's a little bit of both. It is a little bit of gimmick because it is basically a way for you to borrow money. But life insurance for years has been known to do that. I mean, I can tell you, living in this country for 33 years, there were times when I needed money, and the easiest place for me to go and borrow money was my life insurance policy, because I didn't have to, beg, borrow, or plead. I could just make a phone call to a life insurance company and say, I got $50,000 in my whole life policy. I want $30,000 in loan, and they would send me a check pretty quickly. So I think a lot of it is also on the ease of it. If a consumer is having to go to a bank and borrow a loan, it's a process, right? They have to provide collateral, they have to provide documents, they have to sign documents, they have to certify that they're able to give the money back. So the idea is also from the perspective that it's the ease of being able to get money as you need it.
Gotcha. And would you second that, Tiger, or do you have some other thoughts on this?
Yeah, so the concept of the bank is very different. Bank worked on an arbitrage, right? So they take your money, maybe give you 0% or sometimes maybe 0.25%, and then they're lending it out at 8%, 9%, 10%, 15%, 20%. It's called arbitrage. If you have the money, you take the money at a lower interest rate and you lend it out, right? So the concept can be applied to a whole life policy the same way. If the whole life policy is producing 5%, 6%, 7% result, and you're borrowing it at 3.5% or 4%, you literally are making money from the money that you're using, because your money is still growing. It's just like I give the consumer an example. When you borrow money against your home equity, you don't lose your equity. You're just basically using your equity to do. Now, everything when it comes to arbitrage, there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. Unfortunately, where the scam comes in is that insurance agents, they're not dishonest people by no means. They're just new in the business, and their manager is telling them, hey, creating a bank and creating an arbitrage by just selling every person that is 50 years old with $100 IUL. Well, the concept was right. It's like saying that I'm going to build a house, and if I build it with bricks, it's going to last for a long time. But if I build it with straw, it's probably just going to get blown away tomorrow, right? It's exactly the same thing. A lot of the IULs and even the whole life policies that are being sold under the bank like a bank, or become your own bank, they're not being educated to the consumer the correct way. Because if you tell the customer exactly how to build it, how to borrow it, like one of my clients literally borrows money from his life insurance, lends it to his business. He borrows it at 4%. He lends it to his own business at 8%. So now he's making money from two sides. His life insurance is producing results. He's also, giving money to his personal business and creating a tax deduction with that. So it's just how you play the game. There's nothing wrong with it, but that's where the scam comes in, is that it's being sold by people don't understand the concept and don't know how to implement it.
Gotcha. All right. That was a good insight that I got from the two of you. But I just feel we've gotten into a lot of technicalities right up front of this episode here today. So let's just go into the lighter side of things now. For now, let me ask you a fun question. I'll go with you, Amir, first. So if you could switch lives with any of the famous persons for a day, who would it be and why?
If I was to switch for a day, maybe Elon Musk. I mean, look at all the stuff this dude has done. I mean, half the world hates him, half the world loves him. I drive a Tesla, and obviously it's helped me save a lot of money over years that I was generally putting into gas, especially in the years when gas prices were very expensive. But then there's a lot of controversy in that individual as well, especially when it comes to politics, right? And especially right now in the United States. But it's interesting to see how one man can revolutionize so much. There's so many car companies now that have come with, e-vehicles, but everybody still wants the Tesla because it's the one that's lasted the longest.
Also, it's an experience. I just feel it's an experience.
Yep.
Yeah, gotcha. All right, awesome. And for you, Tiger, if you could have dinner with anyone in the world from, any historical figure in the world, who would it be and why?
Dead or alive?
Yeah, dead or alive, anyone.
Well, of course, being us, having the love for our Prophet, Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if I can get a second with him, talking about dinner will be like too much. Just a second, just to take his side, that would be the ultimate desire for me. Would be just to be able to see his shadow would be plenty for me.
Absolutely, totally.
Yeah.
Really. All right. I'd switch over to our next section, which is around, your professional and personal backgrounds. We've covered a little bit of that already. So can each of you share your journey in the financial planning industry and what initially motivated you to choose this field, and why did you become a financial advisor or an insurance broker, or?
Sure, I can start with that. So when I started this career back in the early 90s, I saw that a lot of people in America were not financially secure. I think when I was moving here from Pakistan, my thought was it's a first world country, as they say.
Yeah.
I'm moving here from a third world country. Things are really rosy. Things are really good. Everybody knows what they're doing, and so on. It was a shock when I first came here and I realized that's not the case. That's just what you see on TV, and TV is not real. TV is just made up. Hollywood can create just like Lollywood in Pakistan creates whatever they want, right? So very clearly, I realized that people had no idea about finances. As I got into this business back in 1991, when I first got my license and I started going out and seeing people, I saw so much of issues. People had no clue where they were investing. People had no idea what life insurance was. Even today, I don't know what the exact number is, but the penetration rate of life insurance in this country is probably 30-35%. Now, you might ask, that's probably a number that a third world country would have.
Yeah.
How come in America, which has had insurance companies for hundreds of years, still has people, and Tiger will certify this, that have never bought life insurance in their lives, or that have never bought an investment product and they have no clue. They've only done banking product, and Tiger talked about banking earlier. So it made me realize very quickly that there's a lot of people like Tiger and myself that are needed in the industry, in the environment here, to truly help Americans have a better financial security and to help them plan for retirement. We find even today a lot of population of people that will retire with no money. Whatever they've earned, they've spent it. They have not allowed themselves or found ways to save money. 75% of Americans live hand to mouth. Here's a statistic that's going to be really crazy to know, and you can Google it. But 2/3 of Americans in this country are 2 paychecks away from a bankruptcy.
Oh my God. Okay.
Okay. And 2 paycheck means 30 days. Most people get paid every 15 days. 2/3. I repeat myself, 2/3 of Americans live hand to mouth and they are 2 paychecks away from a bankruptcy. So if something happens in that month and they can't pay their bills, they're going to be in the next line for bankruptcy. Now, you would sit in Pakistan or India or any part of the world and say, oh, how the heck is that true?
Yes.
It's the most modern country in the world. They have so much money. Everybody's a millionaire. But you just look at the high rises in Chicago downtown or LA or Hollywood. That's not real. The real America is in the farmland. The real America is in the poor parts of the city that Tiger and I live in Chicago. Not every part of Chicago is rosy. You can go to some parts of Chicago where it's more poor than any part of Multan that you would ever think about. And that's the reality of what's on the ground. So when I look at that, it makes me think that I am in a profession where I have the ability, through the work that we do, help the people that are here plan for their retirement. The 30-year-old, the 40-year-old today, instead of him or her spending all their money on traveling, on other things that they spend money on, is to put money away, which is what life insurance and investments is all about, so that when they retire, they have some money to retire on.
See, this is difficult information for me to digest, to be honest. We never thought it that way. But Tiger, building on what Amir has said, what do you feel has been the reason on why two-thirds of the Americans are just 2 paychecks away from going, not having anything in the savings? Why do you think that is? Even though the life insurance has been there for about 100 years or more than that.
Yeah. It's like, I don't want it to turn into any kind of a political tone of discussion, but the biggest challenge is that, the inflation and wages of people have not been in any kind of a balance in this country. The inflation for the last I've been here for 40 years, and in that 40 years, the inflation versus people's earnings, there is literally just quite a bit of a gap there. That is, and then the financial education, the business that we are in, is literally not provided at the right age to people, and the last 2-3 generations especially have gotten away from it, because 3 generations away you didn't need to do financial planning, because pretty much all large businesses had some type of a pension plan. So all you had to do was go to work, and your pension plan is being built, and then you got out of your work, you retired, and somebody has already like set it up for you, right?
Yeah.
So the more and more people started to think that Social Security was some type of a pension, and then every time you give anything to the government, doesn't matter if it's United States government or Pakistan's government or European government, every time you give the future of the people's finances to a government, it's going to get screwed up. So the dependency on the government programs is really what has gotten this country in more and more trouble, because people are not taking that responsibility that used to be to the employer, and they're still relying on the employer, and the employers are really just looking. It's hard for them to run their own business than to set up somebody's financial future. That's where the biggest gap is.
Right. I hear you, but to some extent, I also feel, Tiger, that because we have been doing marketing for life insurance agents based in the US and Canada for about 4 or 5 years now, I just also feel that people think and feel that life insurance is something that they can only use if they die. That's also one of the concepts, which and no one's thinking about dying. That's another thing, right? So that is probably one of the other reasons why people don't invest into life insurance or get life insurance.
But I think that's where the education and training comes in. I will tell you that products of the last 5 years have changed significantly. So the living riders, as they're called in this country, of life insurance product have become more popular. You're correct. When I first started back in 1991, it was very difficult, because you're basically going and telling someone that, look, this is not for you. This is for after you pass away. This is for your wife and your children or what have you. And many people will look at that and say, if it's not for me while I'm alive, why the heck do I care, right? My family will be taken care of by some other ways, and so on. And then insurance companies started realizing that they had to build riders. So a lot of the new generation of products all have living riders. Long-term care is one, or old age insurance, as it's called. It's very common now that it's very difficult, even for us as Pakistanis, Tiger, myself included, if he or I were to become sick. This is not Pakistan where you can find 5 masis to come take care of you, or 3 chaprasis or whatever, right? You're gonna have to find a way, and your kids are not going to do it. The generation of kids that are growing up here are not going to be the ones that are going to come change your diaper or bring you food or bring you medicine. You have to find a way to self-sustain yourself. So I'm convinced that if this was to happen to me, I need to find a way to pay for long-term care that I would need, whether I hire a nurse and bring somebody in my house to take care of it, or whether I go to a nursing home. In the US, the concept of nursing home is very popular. Every street corner you find a nursing home. They call it old age living. They have assisted livings and various capacities, even to an extent now where some people are doing that even if they're not sick. They just prefer sell the big home, not to worry about cutting the grass or mowing the lawn or whatever, right? Just go to a living facility where they have like-minded people, same age. They play bingo, they play cards, they play whatever, right? But you need money for all of it. So life insurance policies allow you now to take out money if you were to become eligible for long-term care. There are also components in certain products where if you are not necessarily disabled, which is the general definition in a long-term care capacity, but you had certain conditions such as a heart attack, such as cancer, such as paralysis, so things that are not immediately going to kill you, but things that may be reasons why you can't work anymore. They will still allow you to access the death benefit component of your policy while you're alive on a tax-free basis to pay for some of these expenses. So a lot of us now are selling life insurance policies not just for the death, but we are also selling it for what we call the living benefits. So you get it paid both ways. You're alive, this situation happens, you've got a pool of money that you can access without penalty and use it. You pass away, the balance of the money is paid to your beneficiary for them to use it on a tax-free basis. And the biggest use of life insurance in this country, at least, is the tax deferment or the tax-free style. That life insurance is truly the only vehicle that is left around that does not tax. There's been lots of times where Congress and and Senate has tried in the US to make life insurance policy death benefit taxable very recently as well, but they've failed. And I think until that is the biggest component that people will continue to buy life insurance because you've got the living benefit riders and the death.
Gotcha. All right. So our viewers are gonna get a lot of education watching this podcast as well around life insurance. And on that note, I'd like to move to a quick fun game which we call Financial Fast Facts. It's a rapid fire questions that I'm gonna ask you, Tiger, first, and then we'll move over to Amir. Are you ready, Tiger?
I hope so.
Okay.
I'd rather play cricket, but if that's what you want to do.
All right. So you have to answer these questions as quickly as possible. So it's more about your instinctive feeling about the answer. Okay.
Yeah.
So the first one,
Yeah.
stocks or real estate?
Real estate.
What is the most underrated financial advice you have ever received?
Buy a house
If you had to invest $10,000 right now, where would you put it?
in a life insurance policy.
Favorite book on finance?
Think and Grow Rich.
What is the craziest investment idea that you have ever heard of?
Crypto.
What's your guilty player purchase?
I'm sorry, I didn't get the question.
What's your guilty player purchase?
Food. I love eating.
A typical Lahori, right?
Yeah.
What's one financial myth you wish people would stop believing?
That you can put any amount of money in an IUL and you can get rich.
All right, so we're gonna move over to you, Amir, for the same question.
Okay.
That was fun, Tiger. So getting started, Amir, if you had to invest $10,000 right now, where would you put it?
So currently, I would buy stocks. I still feel that stock market is pretty viable.
Okay.
Long term, you still make money.
Awesome. Gold or cryptocurrency?
Probably gold, more safer.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
I love tea, no coffee.
The typical Karachi guy, I believe.
Yep.
Right. Okay. And what's the most underrated financial advice that you have ever received?
Well, I think a lot of people think that banks are the only institutions that make people money, and I think that's a myth.
Okay. Interesting. And your favorite book on finance?
So same one, I was going to say Think and Grow Rich. I think both of Tiger and I have read that.
Okay. Awesome. That was fun, guys. I hope our viewers are going to enjoy your answers as well. So moving on, let's talk a little bit about business growth and team building. You mentioned that you're currently recruiting more people. That's how you're growing your business at the moment, correct, Amir?
Right. Yep.
Right. Awesome. So what are you currently like? What recruitment strategies have you found most effective? Because we get a lot of people from like Experior Financial, Symmetry Financial, Family First Life. A lot of people are in my contacts and they're always trying to grow a team. So what recruitment strategies have you guys found most effective so far?
So obviously referrals is always the best way because it's people who you know. We are a small company. We really don't do a lot of brand new recruiting. As Tiger said, there's a lot of people that come into the business and fail.
Yeah.
We end up hiring a lot of people that are with other companies and have already been trained. And then they join us. Since we're a brokerage firm and we represent 80 different companies, it's much easier for us to take over people that come from a single company and are able to sell all the different products. I think seminars is another way. We do recruiting seminars every now and then and do that kind of stuff. And then I think being visible. In my opinion, social media is probably the best form of recruiting. If you go into LinkedIn, you go into WhatsApp, you do podcasts like this, you get to know people, you participate in community events. Tiger and I are very active in the community. That to me is the best way because when people see you and you're visible, they want to work with you. And then last thing I would say is just being successful.
Totally.
People want to join people who are successful. They don't want to join people who are not successful. So one of the reasons in my case, I do public speaking all over the world because people get to know me. So when they know that I've been in this industry, because just the tenure is not enough nowadays, right?
True.
Some people stay in their same job for 25 years, but nobody knows their name.
Yep.
That's the difference.
Yep, true. Absolutely. You're right. And we have recently done a few recruitment campaigns for farmers insurance that have been pretty successful based in Michigan. I'd like to understand, Tiger, like, do you only recruit people that already have insurance licenses or do you also train people and help them get licensed as well?
So I built an agency back in early 2000s and I realized very quickly that in this industry, there's a lot more garbage and the people are trained wrong. the wrong way. And that affects the economy. I am very passionate about it, right? That affects somebody who's actually buying a financial product. Because if we train an agent, sell this, sell more of this, that poor agent doesn't know that it's not doing anything for the person that's buying it. So my strategy now moving into the future is going to be more geared towards that somebody who is fresh to the industry, because if you want to create income, you can create income in this industry before you get your license. So if you create income before you get your license, then you're going to put you in a better position to have some money for marketing and other things that you need when you get into the industry, when you get your licenses, right? So I'm designing a program. We're going to be recruiting people from outside of the industry, and they're going to be provided with some simple products that are very easy to sell, very easy, very good for the consumer, get very good for the business owner, but they don't need to have a license to start. Financial services side, they really need to learn a lot more before they can start implementing it. So my retention was at 80%. This is never heard of in my last agency. And that was the reason, because I didn't allow people to come into my agency and then just say, okay, now you got the product training, now you got this, you got this. No, go out there, sell. No, get the product training, get everything, but then let's have somebody, a leader that knows what's right for the buyer. And when you go and you do the right thing for the buyer, then you don't need a lot of marketing. If you have good accounts that you've done a good job with, they'll be happy to send you their family, their friends, their network that they sell. So this is where the short sightedness of a lot of the big agencies that you mentioned there comes in, because they're literally taking 100 people, putting them in the insurance business. They know, I don't know how they sleep at night, that 92% of these people, after writing their aunt and uncle and their cousins, are gonna just fail, and they'll just let them run with that. And then, so we will be doing some recruiting, but it will be based on actually creating another person that's a business owner now, not just another insurance agent.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's quite insightful. Building on what Amir said, Amir mentioned that you actually have to be successful to recruit people under you. And this is what I keep telling people especially from, I don't know if I should take any names here, but whatever. People from WFG and Experior Financial, most of these people are more focused on recruitment rather than production. And they're not making even 3 to 5K a month, and they just want to recruit. When I ask them, like, why would someone want to join your team? And they're like, I don't know. This is what my do. That's what I was trained on.
And I'll tell you, that is the reason why industry has gotten a bad name. Again, there are companies out there, and since I'm in that space and I'm familiar with most companies, because I also sit as the advisory chair for a lot of industry organizations, so I have access to a lot of information. The problem this industry in this country has done, it's been diluted. Companies have gone out and just recruited everybody. They've gone out and looked for part-time people. They've gone out and looked for people that are completely failed in other environment, and now they want to hire them. And all they're interested in doing is having those people go out and sell their friends and family. And you can't build a business. You can't build sustainability. You can't do retirement planning for someone if you're an ad hoc. The question, this is how I would ask a question. So if you wanted to have a bypass surgery done, are you going to go to and find a doctor that's done one surgery in his entire life and has not been practicing for the last couple of years as a cardiologist? Or are you going to go find research and find the one that's the best? So if that's the case, I assume you would go do your research. Why, when you want to buy insurance, would you go buy from someone who's just joined the industry, who knows nothing and who has not been trained? And this is the reason why this industry has gotten a bad name. Unfortunately, a lot of our competitor companies out there just feel like it's all about money. Tiger and I are here so many years later because we didn't chase money. I have never chased money in my life. I've let the money chase me.
Awesome. What I always try to do on these podcasts is, whoever the guest is, I try to give them a 2-minute bracket where they can introduce themselves and tell them, tell people, like, how is Futurity, for example, how is Futurity different from all the other companies out there? So I would like either of you to just go ahead and tell our viewers how your company Futurity is different from all the other companies.
Yeah, sure. I'll start first and Tiger then join in. So Futurity First Insurance Group is a nationwide brokerage firm that that has over 27,000 agents across the country. Our main value proposition is we represent 80 companies in all lines of business, but we are organized into a career system. We truly train people and make sure that they're educated and knowledgeable before they go out and sell. So the fact that you're doing this interview today where Tiger and myself are both in an office is unique because a lot of agents nowadays work from home. Nothing wrong with it, but I still feel that you need an office to work out of. In the same situation, a lot of our clients come to our office. There's a big movement of consumers asking, do I want to do business with someone who doesn't have an office, works from home? I don't know who they report. I buy a product for them tomorrow and they're gone. Who do I go to? Do I just become another 1-800 number to call, be on wait for 20 minutes before somebody answers? Or do I need to do business with somebody like Tiger and myself who've been in the business for collectively 60 years, who have an office staff, who have a physical location? So tomorrow, if I drop dead, there's a whole bunch of people behind me that would service that client and make sure that the goals are still taken care of, whatever the reason they bought that particular product. A lot of people are now realizing that fact. They don't want to just go and buy from a fly-by-night agent or a fly-by-night company because it's hard-earned money of an American consumer. When somebody buys a life insurance policy and pays premium, it's very hard money that they've earned. They need to make sure they invest with a company and with an agent who's relevant and there, who's not just yesterday, today. I want to be there yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Not somebody who was just yesterday sold a product and then disappeared. Tiger?
Yep. Tiger, would you like to
Yeah,
add?
and what I like to add is that yes, having some type of a structure where there's other than your advisor, there's a lot more support that you can rely on, because we all take vacations, we all get sick, we all someday gonna die. But outside of that, for me, what's important is that I think that when you are getting into any type of a business, pick somebody who is serious about their own business first and then learn from them, right? So when my clients ask me, hey, what is the difference between you and 1.5 million other agents that have the same license? And I just say, me. The difference is me, because you have to really do your research and also ask yourself that, do you really want to work with me? Because you don't need to give me 100% of your trust. You give me 10% of your trust and let me earn the 90%. Is everybody else working the same way, or they just want you to trust them and then just disappear on you, right? So it's like, nobody really wants to see a doctor, right? But when you need one, you better hope that you find a good one, right? We're the same way. Financial advisor, nobody wants to see a financial advisor. But when you need one, you better hope you have a good one, So doing your research and working with somebody who's serious about their own business first and is doing it for the right reason, because financial services really affect generations. It's not just the one person you just affected. It affects generations. So, for me, it's the message is very simple. You want to work with me? I'm going to turn you into an entrepreneur and build a business, even if it's a one-person business that's sustainable and that is, scalable. So
Right.
if you don't have a sustainable, scalable business, then it's just like, buying something from Amazon and hope it works kind of thing, So you got to be very serious about this, So my message is like, if a company is just recruiting, if they recruit you and tell you the next day how many people you have recruited, you should run, because they haven't even taught you anything and they're already asking you to recruit other people.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome, guys. So we are almost getting towards the end of this episode here today. I only got like 10 minutes left. So because we do a lot of digital marketing and we've been doing this for the past 4 years now since COVID happened. I'd like to understand from you, Amir and Tiger, like, has digital marketing impacted each of your businesses in any way?
Yeah, so absolutely has. I think in today's day and age, digital marketing helps you reach a larger audience. It lets you tell your story to a bigger group of people. It lets you also tell your story in a better fashion than just words, because you have the capacity of being able to showcase success. I think digital marketing and social media presence are what truly makes people understand, as I said earlier, that people want to do business with successful people. I tell all my agents, I said, if you don't have a digital presence, if you don't have a social media presence, why would somebody buy? I mean, I'm the same way, right? I assume all three of us would be the same way. If any one of us wanted to buy something somewhere, you're going to go and look and do research and you're going to go find the person that's best in that space.
Correct.
And once you're comfortable with that is then how you're going to do business. So I think without digital marketing and without social media presence, you're not going to succeed, especially in a sales environment.
Right. And Tiger, what do you feel in terms of like the areas in digital marketing that your company needs improving on? What are those main areas?
Yeah, so for me, like I said, I was a theater major, so didn't take any computer classes. And I still struggle with like even like some of the small things when it comes to, so for me, when I decided to get back into the financial services industry, about 3 years ago, I was completely like so naive about digital marketing that I had no clue, because I thought somebody who's doing digital marketing has gotta be some type of a technology genius. Well, after having invested a lot of money, I realized that this is even easier than how people can get in the insurance business, because they don't even need to pass a class to open up an agency from their grandma's basement and just call themselves digital marketers, right? And so it's a very, very needed, technology is very needed. Social media presence is very much needed. The issue that I have run into that I haven't found an actual partner that I really feel like was reliable. Just going back to what we were talking about earlier, you can buy a policy from somebody that is going to be not in business 2 months later, so it's kind of this space of digital marketing and social media and all this stuff. I'd rather have somebody else do it for me, because I want to be good at what I do. I want to find somebody that is good at what they do. Yes, you have to be on social media, you have to be on Facebook, you have to create content, you have to do all of those things. But just like any other company, a $20 billion company, the CEO is not what's doing every single detail of the company. They just have the right people with them. Unfortunately, when you are in this type of environment where you yourself are considered a 1099 business owner, and then you have to hire another 1099 business owner so those relationships are very difficult to manage. So I'm hoping that we can find a right partner that can help us do the recruiting, to lead generation, to do the social media, management, all of those as one package deal. And that's what's going to grow our agency from where we are now to bringing more people in. Yeah.
All right.
It's necessary for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So on a concluding note here today, and also getting some final thoughts from you guys, what advice would you give someone who is just starting out in the financial planning industry, Amir?
So I would say probably do your homework, join a group of people that you have affiliation with or know them or understand them, not just join because of a name or product. I always tell people synergy in working with one another has to be. The reason why Tiger and I got together doing this together is because we have synergy. I know our thoughts are same, processes are same, our confidence level is same. A lot of times people will join an organization and not feel good, and then they'll leave 6 months later and go find another job. Like in my role as a manager, I can't tell you how many resumes I see where in 5 years somebody's had 9 jobs. And it makes it very difficult for me to hire that person, because I ask myself, is it the company let them go or they let themselves go in those companies? Because why would somebody in 5 years have 9 jobs? And it's very common, by the way. Now, I'll say this, the new generation today thinks that's how it should be. Like my kids ask me, my son and daughter, I have 2 kids. They asked me, said, Dad, why won't you work for the same company more than 2 years? Because I've been with Futurity First for 15 years, ever since the company was born, and they can't believe it.
Yeah.
And I asked them, I said, why do you say that? And they're like, well, the new generation feels if you work for a company more than 2 years, you're old.
Yeah.
You need something new to do the next in 2 years out, and then 2 years, and 2 years, and 2 years. And by the time you turn 65, you've worked for, I don't know, 20 some companies.
Yeah, 30 plus. Yeah.
I've worked in 33 years for 3 companies total in my entire career. And they call me a dinosaur. That's okay. This dinosaur made it.
That's definitely an interesting analogy. What's your take on that, Tiger? What would you recommend someone who's just starting out in the financial planning industry?
Well, for me, the number one thing is that, it doesn't matter if it's financial services industry or anything. First, you have to know, do you want to be a business owner or do you want to be an employee, right? There's nothing wrong with employees, because we will not be able to work and do our job without the employees. So God bless all the hardworking employees of the United States that, keep this economy going and doing everything. So it's a personal decision. The personal decision is very simple. You're going to work the same amount of hours for the next 30 years, and either somebody else is going to get rich from that, or you're going to get rich from that, right? So if you're okay with saying, hey, I don't have the mindset of an entrepreneur, as long as my life is stable, I have the right type of investments, I'm okay with doing this 9 to 5, no other responsibilities, nothing else. But it's okay if somebody else is getting rich because of me, because they treat me fairly and they pay me fairly. Then
Right.
that is the W-2 is the way to go. If you want to go the business route, owner, know that it looks very good from the outside, but you're always working. However, that doesn't feel like work because I'm passionate about what I do. I'm taking sometimes calls at 10 o'clock at night and sometimes 5 a.m. because all of the time difference, that exists in just one big country.
Yep.
So if you want to be in the financial services industry, first decide, are you ready to become a business owner? Then once you've decided that, then go to interviews and ask questions like, how long would it be before I start producing income? And if somebody tells you that I can help you go from here to $2,000 a week in the next 3 weeks, run. Right? Because you're starting a business, and starting a business, you can do it two ways: invest time or invest money.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have money, be ready to invest a lot of time. And if you have money and time, you're probably going to get there faster. But if you have no money, this is the best business to be in, that you can literally start for under $1,000 and build it to become a 6-figure income in a year to two. So there's no better investment to getting into the financial services industry and building a business from here, but it's not a get rich quick scheme.
All right. Thank you so much, Tiger, for your thoughts on that. So on the ending of this episode, I'd like to thank both of you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure hearing your thoughts and experiences. And for our listeners, if you're interested in learning more about growing your own financial planning business or need support with digital marketing and recruitment campaigns, feel free to reach out to us. We specialize in helping professionals like Amir and Tiger achieve their growth goals. Thank you so much, both of you. And we could have gone on and on for the next hour or so, but I have a few meetings coming up, which I'll have to run to.
No problem. Sounds good. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Take
Thank you.
care. Okay.
Bye.